It's Wellness Wednesdays. Wellness Wednesdays. I almost forgot to do Wellness Wednesdays for today. I have to bang this out before I do Twitch. I returned to Twitch last night. So, yes, I'm breaking the fact that this is not immediate. I'm being silly right now. Boss Fight Song of Sparkle Muffin Kickstarter is in its third week. I'm a little bit punchy, but this Wellness Wednesday was actually a request, and I didn't have a chance to check whether I've talked about this before, but when it's a request, it's like, well, someone didn't see the past video, right? And Wellness Wednesday is going to continue no matter what happens with the game. It's important. People like it. But again, traffic is lower than other videos. So if you like Wellness Wednesday, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. We're talking today about when and how to admit you're wrong. And this is primarily about internet stuff, but I think it's something that is a general thing of there is no consensus about what admitting you're wrong does as a function. And I know there are some cultural things with this. Different places around the world have different customs when it comes to things like admitting you're wrong, apologizing, criticism, this sort of thing, praise as well. I'm going to talk about what I find works for me and what I find best for my peace of mind. And that's when you realize you're wrong, admit you're wrong. Not to gain an advantage, not to expect somebody else to respond in kind. My approach to admitting you're wrong about things is similar to the way Dwayne Johnson took the piss out of himself at the Xbox anniversary event. It's something of a power move. It is an assertion of self-confidence that someone is big enough to admit they're wrong. Now, that doesn't mean you admit you're wrong as a tactic. You admit you're wrong when you think you're wrong. Don't claim to be wrong just to keep the peace. I am not a believer in that. There are ways to keep the peace. There are ways to maintain relationships without saying you were wrong about something that you don't think you're wrong about. If somebody demands that of you, you need to really take a good hard look at that relationship, because there are ways of empathizing with people's feelings. There are ways of expressing you care. There are ways of indicating that you don't like that something upsets someone without admitting fault when you don't feel there is any. And I mean, one easy way to do that is sort of, okay, I can see the misunderstanding there. But it is very important as a check on yourself to be able to admit you're wrong, to do so freely, and to do so expecting nothing in return. That may sound terrifying to some people who have been extremely punished in their personal lives for being the one that will admit they're wrong. I know some family dynamics I'm very familiar with have that. Once a person admits they're wrong about everything. I find in those situations, those are groups of people who are looking for someone to blame anyway. And it doesn't take much. So again, you really lose nothing by being accountable. What you can lose if you're hiding mistakes is a sense of yourself. I do think that constantly covering up where you think you fell short, constantly being afraid someone's gonna find out, does results in a gradual erosion of the soul. That may sound like dramatic language, but like I said, this is just me. This is where I come from. This is what I found helps. I mean, one of Princess Sparkle Muffin's big superpowers is her ability to go, I don't get it, right? And just be very much, yeah, I don't understand what's going on, right? It, I think, is a real sign of growing up to admit you don't have all the answers. Reading any of the great philosophers, especially the Greeks, there's always something in those moments where they're like, well, I don't know, I'm an idiot, right? What is that apocryphal quote? I know enough to know I know nothing, or I know enough to know I know little. You do hit a point, at least people who are developing reasonably hit a point where we know we don't know everything. We're okay with not knowing everything. We find people who know things we don't, and, that allows us to play to our strengths. That is not the way a lot of systems that children, teenagers, and young adults come through. The whole college application system is about this ridiculous level of apparent perfection that no human being actually achieves. You know how I feel about that whole system. I talk about it a lot on Wellness Wednesdays, and people spend their 20s unlearning that programming of conceal their mistakes. I think that's part of the reason the Frozen song took off. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know, but now they know. And it's this big triumphant moment, and it's a thing, but life is not a Disney song. And that was the middle of the movie. But it is really important to find a way to let it go, the guilt of being wrong. It's amazing how quickly your thought process is retrained to be okay with being wrong once you start doing it. Once you start that process of accountability and admitting, yeah, I messed up there. It's funny because when I first got on YouTube, people were like, you never admit you're wrong. You can't handle criticism. And then there was a period where you apologize for too much. You're wishy-washy. It's like, and that's sort of what taught me, you know what? I'm just going to admit when I think I'm wrong. I'm not going to base it on covering my ass because people hate me no matter what I do. That's the thing about YouTube. On Rich's stream the other night, I said that I like game dev stress more than YouTube stress, because there's something of a thing where people judge your product in game dev, and there's actually a discussion about, what worked, what didn't. There's a fairness there that on YouTube, people form opinions about you, about something someone said you said on a subreddit. Not what you said, what someone said you said. And they're not the same thing, obviously. And after a while of that, it is impossible to care about a lot of the opinions people have on you, a lot of the feedback you get. One of the reasons I'm so happy that the comment sections in my YouTube videos are good, and I lean towards less traffic but higher quality community interactions, is because I need somewhere where at least I feel like the bulk of the praise and the criticism is authentic, instead of just people cruising for an upvote or people cruising for a downvote. Some people like that negative attention. They like to troll. They like to rile people up. And so they'll trash people who, seem popular. And I found there's been a lot, I don't know the word to describe it because every word I would use have a charge. There are a lot of people on the internet right now in what I call angry sad mode. They're angry and they're sad. And the combination of angry and sad is a particularly potent, particularly destructive one. Because if you're just angry or if you're just sad, it's easier to handle than angry sad because you want to smash things and, crawl up in a sobbing ball at the same time. And people end up lashing out until you learn how to work through the angry, sad periods. A lot of people don't work through the angry, sad periods in a healthy way because they can't admit they're angry, sad. Because anger is wrong. Sadness is wrong, right? If you're not happy all the time, it's some sort of weakness or failure. No, I am calm, the person yells. I personally think serene calm is overrated. If someone's always calm, they don't care about anything, or, they may appear calm, but they're faking it. That's not the same as happy. Not the same thing. But, there's been a lot of people who just make utter fools of themselves because they're displacing blame. They are so afraid of admitting they misunderstood something or they got something wrong that they just go to the mat and make complete asses of themselves. And in a way, it's kind of entertaining, but I feel for those people. That's a terrible existence. That's an existence full of unnecessary fear and insecurity and imposter syndrome. Secure people are like The Rock, right? Secure people are like Dwayne Johnson. There's a charm in knowing how to admit you made a mistake, or, wow, you look back on stuff and go, whoa, that was, it's a power move. It's a confidence move. It's an alpha move. And maybe thinking about it that way can take out some of the fear, right? And don't do it because it's an alpha move, because doing stuff because they're alpha moves is not an alpha move, if that makes sense. The reason I basically say it that way is because confident people can admit they're wrong. Insecure people blame other people. And even if people can't necessarily put their finger on what's going on, human beings have an ability to read other human beings, not always accurately and often not with precision. But people do have a sense about each other. And one of the nice things about admitting when you're wrong is it allows you to be consistent. And it allows people who know you to respect when you do stick to your guns. Because they know in the past when you've thought you were wrong, you admitted it. Now, if you've got people pressuring you to admit you're wrong, just admit you're wrong. Just admit you're wrong. No. No, no, no. Persuade somebody that they're wrong. Don't demand they admit they're wrong. Why? Because no one ever sincerely went, you know what, you're right, I've seen the error of my ways, because someone just said, just admit you're wrong, just admit you're wrong. That's browbeating someone. In fact, I would argue when someone's doing that, don't do it on principle. Now, sometimes I go, all right, I was wrong, so what? But that's just me being a bit of a stinker. If people are demanding you do anything without attempting to persuade you that not only is it the honorable and correct thing, but also that they're coming at you authentically straight shooter, right? They don't have your best interests at heart. They're not doing that for meaningful communication. They're trying to be a fake alpha because they don't know how to have the confidence of leading by example. They demand things of other people. They swarm online. They exist in a perpetual cycle of momentary, fleeting, Pyrrhic victories, getting somebody to back down online when, most of the people who do that, it's a PR company writing something. They're like, whatever, I'm going to forget about it tomorrow. Sorry, charm, charm, charm. And then they go and beat up on someone else, and beat up on someone else, and beat up on someone else, right? They're gone tomorrow. On to the next target. You have to live with yourself tomorrow. And part of feeling good about yourself is having that balance. I'm not going to say strength, that centeredness. Because most people most people are far stronger than they think they are. For whatever reason, we have this conditioning in modern society to convince people they're weak because they're not happy all the time, right? Being scared doesn't mean you're weak. Feeling insecure doesn't mean you're weak. Feeling anxiety doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. And your feedback system with the world is functioning. It may not be functioning, again, with precision. It may not necessarily be functioning accurately, but it is working. That is a good thing. If you go numb, that's bad. And that's one of the things that recognizing, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong about that. You'll see me all on this channel all the time. I messed up with that, or sorry about that. I dropped the ball. I mean, I'm Canadian. We bump into parking meters and apologize to them. Apologies come very, very easy to Canadians. But there are still some people up here, even up here, people can't admit they're wrong. It's weird. It's really, really strange. And yes, everybody has certain things that they get stubborn about or are important to them, that they feel insecure about. There are some things you can admit you're wrong easily, and other things that you feel more guarded about. That's okay. But it is a good exercise to try to admit more in those areas that make you feel insecure. It feels like when you first start that you will leave yourself open and vulnerable to a ton of abuse by showing your belly that way. But in a way, when you do it, you realize it's really not, because what you end up feeling, when you go, you're right, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry, right? Especially when it's in an argument. If you do that, if you show that sign of good faith, and a person is still charging at you like you said nothing, it gives you a really interesting sense of distance from the emotional charge. You start to go, okay, I'm acting in good faith here. This person is still spun out. It didn't diffuse them at all. They're still coming at me. This isn't about me. This is about them, or this is them taking something out on me that isn't about me. And then you get that true calm, not the fake calm that people who clearly aren't calm claim to be on the internet. You get a true sense of calm even when you're dealing with somebody who has completely lost their chill. Because you were accountable. You admitted when you made a mistake. You apologized sincerely. And if the other person acts like a jerk, tells you something about them, right? And obviously this is about small things. If you make a big mistake, people are going to take a while to get over it. Maybe that's something I can do in a follow-up video. Let me know. This is for little things, right? What to do when you've really, really screwed up, that needs its own video. Let me know if you want a video on that. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Song of Sparkle Muffin Kickstarter, back it. Thanks for watching.